Okay, shalom, shalom, kwam yasha Allah, koholoimla, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bahashim Chahakadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who do rule well, that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth, and just want to say the water to the H.I.M and Aqua that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. Jah Hanan the Waf just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying. Yeah, it's going to have to be pretty quick because I only got 5% of battery life, and I didn't know, but I wanted to get this in. But this is in the politics. I've been seeing this for the past few days. It says colored people. Joyce Beatty, or Beatty, might be pronouncing it wrong, Slovakia, quickly checks Republican Eli Crane's reference to black Americans. All right? So the thing of it is all these words and names and these different things that they're calling us when they, so-called black people shit been changed so many times. You went from Negroes to niggas to colored to blacks to African American and all these different things, but we're not any of those. We are actually Hebrew Israelites from, our respective tribe. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that's your biblical nationality. You come from one of the 12 tribes or the 12 sons of Israel. Jacob, which his name was changed to Israel, or tongue. He had 12 sons, and you come from one of those 12 sons. Negro, you're not Hispanic, you're not Native Americans, you're not Haitians, Jamaicans, Dominicans, Latinos, all these different names that the so-called white man gave you, because he's not actually white. He's pinkish to reddish in color, and his biblical nationality is he comes from Esau, Edom, and you can clearly see this man. He's red. He's not the color of his shirt. He's almost the color as those red stripes in the back of that on that flag right there, or the same color as his tie. And the scripture says that Esau came out red. He's not white. He's not looking like a glass of milk out here. That's something that they've been pushing for a real long time. And they are not white people, and we are not black people. We are different shades of brown, and they are different shades of red. Well, let's get some the little hookup here in Twitter here.
Arizona. Well, Mr. Chairman, though that was unbelievably inspiring, my amendment has nothing to do with whether or not colored people or black people or anybody can serve, okay? It has nothing to do with color of your skin, any of that stuff. What we want to preserve and maintain is the fact that our military does not become a social experiment. We want the best of the best. We want to have standards that guide who's in what unit, what they do. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans, they are not doing this because they want the strongest military possible. I hope my colleagues on the other side can understand what we're doing. Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, asking to be recognized to have the words colored people.
For what purposes does the gentlelady seek recognition?
I'd like to be recognized to have the words colored people stricken from the record. I find it offensive and very inappropriate.
Is the gentlelady asking for unanimous consent to take down the words?
I am asking for unanimous consent to take down the words of referring to me or any of my colleagues as colored people.
For what purposes, the gentleman from Arizona?
Can I amend my comments to people of color?
The gentleman wishes to amend his comments.
Is the gentleman asking?
Is the gentleman asking consent?
Mr. Speaker, to have the word stricken. I didn't ask for an amendment.
Is there unanimous consent to have the word stricken?
Without objection, so ordered.
Without objection, so ordered.
Okay, and there you have it. So here you go. I'm not sure if she's, what she really is, but the nigga woman arguing. What's the difference from colored people and black and people of color? They're all bywords. They're all bywords. She should be ashamed of all of them. But our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So our people don't actually know who they really are. So they go for these pronouns. Now, you don't went from how many times a Negro's nationality done been changed since we've been in the U.S.? Actually, I'm older than African American. I'm actually older than my nationality from what they're calling us African American. That came out in 1989 with your boy, I think Jesse Jackson. So how can I be older than my nationality? That don't even make no sense. A color is not a nationality. You see? So everybody has a biblical nationality, and the so-called white man, his biblical nationality is he's Esau, Edom. And the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, you come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You are Israelites. You are Hebrew Israelites from your respective tribe. And that's, just what I wanted to just bring out. I didn't want to keep this lesson long, but let's just go off into the scriptures where it talks about the byword, because this is one of the curses that are on our people. When you go into the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, it gives you all the curses that will be on the Israelites. Salakia. Put it in right. Anyway, we can go into it like this. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Now, at the beginning, verse 1, it talks about the blessings if we were obedient to the Lord. Then you go on down to verse 14, 15, I think that is. It talks about what will happen to the children of Israel if they are disobedient, which is a part of the contract. So we didn't keep our portion of the contract, the first covenant. So the Lord placed us under these curses right here. From verses 15 on down to 68, you can see that these curses only fit the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And actually right here in verse 46, it says, let's get that real quick. Verse 46, it reads, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Let's get it in the NLT. I never read it in the NLT, the New Living Translation. It says, these horrors will serve as a sign and warning among you and your descendants forever. So these are signs that are upon us as a people. And always like to use the illustration of, you know that you're at McDonald's when you see the golden arches. You know the Burger King. Everybody got their logo. So when it comes to these curses, they actually are a sign upon us as representation as to who we are, because we're the only ones that go through these particular curses as a whole entire people, man. Okay, so now the point that I wanted to get was the bywords and astonishment. Let me just see. It was 37, verse 37. Deuteronomy 28 and 37. This is one of the curses. And thou shalt become, let's go all the way into it because I want to see what the NLT say on this one too. It says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. That's why they can call, that you got words like nigger, negro, spicks, Hispanic, just different. They calling you everybody. That old saying where they say, calling you everybody except for a child of God. And that's pretty much what they do. We have all different types of names. The last thing that these so-called white people want you to know is that you are a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe, from your respective tribe, because the Lord said that he would place us above all nations. He chose us to be above all the nations that are on the planet Earth. So these people, and they use the so-called black woman to just push a bunch of bullshit on us as a people too. Because if you notice, it wasn't no man there. You don't see no so-called black men in these positions of power and making no decisions, man. It's always the so-called black woman. She's always there. Why is she there arguing about, I don't want to be called colored people. I prefer to be called people of color. What's the fucking difference, man? He's still calling your ass a damn byword. Regardless. You get these people, man, they so damn smart, they don't know nothing, man. Okay, but in the New Living Translation, it says, you will become an object of horror, ridicule, and mockery among all the nations to which the Lord sends you. And that's true. We are total mockery, man, to these people, man. These people look at us like we aren't shit. And like I said, again, they use the so-called black woman to push the narrative that we ain't shit. You know, they done told her that you don't need no man. Them niggas ain't shit. Now she's on top of the world and she's making all the damn decisions in the world to go along with her counterpart, the so-called white man. That's a real partner. So-called black women are no different than a damn white man. They just a white man with a what they calling them now, a glory hole. Anyway, man. But this is the point that I wanted to get. We are not blacks. We are not damn people of color. We are not, even though we are people with some color. Well, hell, even the so-called white man, hell, he got some color, but it's not the white that they talking about. It's that pinkish to reddish. So just wanted to touch on this and bring this out, man. This is one of those curses that have been following us for a long time, and it's going to continue to follow us because though they see the brothers out on the highways and byways, and there's a lot of brothers that's in these camps now, man, that look like so-called white men. But what do they still say? Black Hebrew Israelites. Black Hebrew, because they understand that that's a negative connotation. And when you go into that word black, it's just disgusting, man. Here you go. She's arguing. I want this stricken. You're referring to my people and my colleagues as colored people. What's the difference? She wanted it to be changed from colored people to people of color. And that, what's the fuck? That just lets you know how silly these people are, man. Anyway, with that, I just wanted to point out another curse that is on our people because we have to do these things because and we have to let our people know. We use the scriptures and the prophecies and the pieces of the puzzles and put it together and bring it forth to the people by the Spirit so they can see like, hey, that's us. That's a real part of this ministry. See, back in 2,000 years ago, the Israelites, you know, a lot of them knew who they were. They were still speaking Hebrew. They still live by Hebrew customs. Now we're living in these, you know, in these Americas in this day and age, 2,000 years later, man, our people don't know who the hell they are. As a matter of fact, let's get this real quick before I end out. This is Isaiah 1:3. It says, the ox knoweth its owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider. And it's going off into that because you have an ox and an ass. These are generally stupid ass animals. But it says that at least they know their master's crib. It says, but our people, Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, they don't know and they don't give a fuck, man. They don't care. Jake is proud as shit to throw up their fists and say, I'm proud and I'm black. I'm black and I'm proud and all this James Brown shit, man. We're not African Americans, man. Africa is named after a continent. It's a continent, and America is a continent, and both of these continents are named after so-called white men. You can't. You saying you descend from two so-called white men? That shit is stupid. Anyway, this is just one of that's one of those curses that's on us. Remember that verse 46, it says that they will be upon us for a sign and a wonder, and they are. That's how you can tell literally who the children of Israel are, because we are the only people that go through that. You know? So just wanted to touch on that, man. I pray that the lesson was edifying with that. Kwam Shalom.